Hey guys, are we going? All right, let's talk about tips on remembering your dreams. All right, let's talk about that. So, the number one most easy thing to do when you want to really get to the place where you're remembering your dreams is you want to set the intention to remember your dreams. And writing something out that's like a really great kind of mantra to say, I totally recommend that. Like very, very helpful. So for me, the thing that I say is right before I go to bed, I say, please help me to have beautiful, vivid, awesome dreams that really offer me guidance and help me to remember them when I wake up. Okay. Hey, Mary, glad that you're here. So I say that as I'm falling asleep, or a version of that. I don't like read it off a piece of paper. All right. But you have something that you say. Intention is the most powerful thing when it comes to doing something energetic, because energy follows intention. It's like the easiest way to get there. So you really want to make sure you're setting that. People will say to me like, I never remember my dreams. And then I say, well, what do you do to, hey, Kristen, what do you do to really help yourself remember your dreams? What do you do to set up the ability to do that? And they're like, nothing. You got to take some action and you got to do a few things. So step one, action step one, create an intention and just say it, something nice to say. Sometimes I repeat it to myself as I'm falling asleep, almost like a little mantra, a little chant to myself as I'm falling asleep. And that is really incredibly helpful. I would say that out of a week, I probably remember very vividly 2 or 3 dreams. And I would say that's pretty average, normal. I don't like those words, but you know what I mean? That's a pretty balanced third eye. If I go for a whole week and I don't really have any memory, like vivid memory of any dreams, I'm going to be like, all right, I need to do some chakra third eye work here. Something's off. I need to look to see what's going on. All right. I also most every morning wake up realizing that I was just dreaming. Okay. So there are sometimes, hey Kelly, there are sometimes when you wake up and you don't feel like you were dreaming at all. And there are other times where it's almost like still running in your head and you can't even really catch it. That's a pretty normal thing. That's a way to have a balanced third eye. So feeling that way, totally okay. Totally, again, normal. Balanced, is that a better word? I don't know. Mary said, I woke up knowing I had a dream. I wanted to remember that I forgot. As I was making coffee, I suddenly remembered it so clearly. Mary, exactly. And that's perfect. That leads me into my next tip. Thanks for the beautiful segue, friend. When you wake up, do not force yourself to try and remember the dream as you're waking up. If you put too much pressure on yourself and start to force it, guess who's going to come in and take over? Our good friend, the ego. I should be remembering that dream. Maybe I'm just making that up. Oh, I got to really remember it. What's wrong with me? I can't remember my dreams. Heather said I set an intention. I'll remember my dreams. And your ego starts pooping all over the experience that you had when you were having beautiful visions as you were sleeping, right? It's very, very normal and very, very healthy to go throughout your day and have the dream sort of trigger and come back, all right? Another great thing that you can do is you can stop and you can meditate with the intention to recall dreams or visions you had while you were asleep. Very, very helpful. If I'm doing that, if I know I had a dream where typically when I do something like this, it's like I remember pieces of it and I know there's more. It's like I can feel the memory is right there, but I can't quite get to it. When that's what's going on, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go meditate to get the rest of that. All right. So, and I'll even meditate in my bed. All right, so like I'll lay on my bed where I was while I was dreaming to help that come back in. And probably like 7 times out of 10, I'll really get it to come back just by doing that. All right, allow things to trigger the dreams back. You know, because when you're asleep, your subconscious mind is in control and your conscious mind takes a step back, which is the opposite of how it is when you're awake, right? When you're awake, your conscious mind's hanging out in front, your subconscious is a step back. When your subconscious mind is in charge, memory is not really running the way it would when your conscious mind is in charge, okay? Because your subconscious is looking at everything symbolically. It's really looking at what your soul needs, what you need for your next journey, for your next lesson, what's your intuition telling you. That's more important to your subconscious. So your memory's like, oh, it's there, it's working. Your brain's not dead while you're sleeping, right? But what's happening is that the memory center isn't turned on in the same way that you are in another altered state, which is awake. You have a conscious state of awake and a conscious state of asleep, right? So when you are asleep, your memory is working differently. It's not up at the front like it is when you are consciously awake, okay? So what you want to do is know that let things trigger, much like intuition. Have you ever had a moment where it wasn't a dream, but like something happened and you're like, this is familiar, but you didn't think it or see that vision or have a sense of it until that moment? It's that same sort of way. It's that same sort of operating system. You know, your body and your energy and your mind and your soul operate differently in different states of consciousness. And I won't get too trippy on this, but I gotta tell you, it's really fun to get trippy on that stuff right now. But when you are in a sleep state of consciousness, your whole system is operating differently than when you're in a wake state of consciousness. All right. Now, the more you in your waking life in that state of consciousness, the more you walk around listening to your intuition, the more you do things like meditate, the more you do things like follow your intuition, which is the next point I'm going to get to in a second, the more you're doing that sort of stuff in your awake state of consciousness, the more you're going to be able to have a beautiful connection with the sleep state of consciousness. And what that means is when you're going through your waking life and doing what you're doing and journeying through life and dealing with super hard things and dealing with super amazing things and just going on that roller coaster, that is everyone's life, right? As you're going down that road, if you are listening to your intuition and you have a communication going on between your conscious mind and your subconscious, and they're talking and they're listening and there's a balance going on there, when you go to sleep and they switch spots, they're still going to communicate because you've built those beautiful pathways. They're traveling. They know what to do. So just because the state gets altered, those pathways still work. All right. So the more you're doing that stuff in your awake life, the better for sleep and remembering your dreams. That brings me to my next point. Hold on, Ange said something. You look fantastic today, as always, but man, your soul is shining. Thank you! You're so sweet. So it was a full moon last night, and I always feel like a little sluggish and like everything's shifting right before a full moon, but then when I wake up the morning after a full moon, I feel like, woo! Do you guys feel like that? Like it's just so much energy coming from the moon when it's full. It's very exciting. But thank you for the compliment. That's very sweet. All right, so let's go to the next tip, which is actually listen and place importance on what your intuition and your subconscious have to say. Your intuition is not your subconscious, but your intuition lives in your subconscious. Okay? Did you get that? It's not the entire subconscious, but that's where it lives. That's where that information comes in and is processed and gets to you. All right? So if you listen to your intuition and you take action based on what your intuition says instead of always what your ego is telling you to do, then you're going to have better recollection of memory. You're going to have more vision and more intuitive hits in every state of consciousness than if you're not. All right, so let me give you an example. Let's say you walk around your life and your intuition is telling you to go do something or to, let me pick something random. Maybe it's telling you to like put on an event and you're scared and you're nervous and you're like, okay, but you do it. And then your ego's like, blah, all over it and you're nervous and you're feeling all the things, but you're still doing it and you're still taking action towards making this thing happen and you're moving in the direction that your intuition is telling you to do and you're putting yourself out there and you're challenging your ego. If you're doing that, you and your intuition are connected and you're using your ego stuff in balance. So when your ego's telling you stuff that's making you afraid, that's making you nervous, making your self-worth dip down, making you think you're not safe when you are, right? When that's what's happening, if you're taking that information in and paying attention to it, but you're using it to help you move towards what your intuition said, then your intuition starts to feel really valued. It starts to have more power. Most people, you've heard me talk about this subject a lot, okay? Most people walk around being driven by their ego. They live in a state of fear and always battling fear and trying to get out of fear, all right? Fear drives them to do the things they do or not do the things that they should do or their intuition tells them to do, okay? So because of that, when you're in that state, this is also a place of victimness, okay? So if you're in a victim mode, if you're feeling like the world is unfair and people are crapping all over you all the time and it's this person's fault and that person's fault. If you're in that mode, your ego is in charge. Your ego is running the show and fear is the force driving you. What will happen when fear drives you is that not only will you not have beautiful, vivid, amazing vision dreams, not only will you not remember them, but you still start to have less and less intuitive hits as you're walking through your life because you're not being fueled by love. You're not listening to your intuition and moving towards what that's saying, okay? So, you get ill, like, oh my goodness, don't even get me started. I just was doing a thing with a friend where she wants to study people who have a lot of fear and fear-based issues going on in their life and who are driven by ego and things like adrenal fatigue and thyroid issues and hormone imbalance, especially in women, all right? There's a connection. This is someone in the medical world was asking me about this. I was like, I was very excited. But this is a thing. This is something that even the medical world is admitting is an issue, okay? That's stress. When you're feeling stress, it means your ego is running the show, okay? Now listen, you can be the most intuitive mamma jamma out there. You meditate every 5 seconds. You have mantras. You wear flowy tops. There's angel cards coming out your hoo-ha. Like, you can be that and still be afraid and stressed. But if you're operating mostly from the state of intuition, and when you get into that fear-based state, bring yourself back into intuition. Just go, ooh, I went over to the fear club. Let me come back over to the intuition club. And that's kind of what you're doing. You're always working to keep yourself there or bring yourself back. Then that's what I mean. All right. There's no perfect way of doing it. Don't let anyone tell you that. Okay. So that's where you want to be to remember your dreams. You want to make a conscious effort to listen to your intuition. Okay. It's sort of like if you walked around life only using your right arm. Okay, so you're like using your right arm, everything your right arm, and your left arm just hangs there and limp. And every once in a while you feel your left arm like asking to be moved, maybe to be scratched, to lift a weight, to do something, to have a pretty piece of jewelry on it. Like your left arm's like, hey, could I have some attention here? And you're just like, nah, I don't value my left arm. I'm going to use my right arm all the time. All the time, right? You're going to have this super strong right arm and your left arm is going to be weak. It's going to start to have issues. It's going to start to atrophy. And so when you go to say, left arm, why come you're not telling me what you want anymore? How come you're not working when I try to use you? Well, it's because you weren't building that. And it's the same when it comes to intuition. Okay, Mary, angel is coming out your hoo-ha. Yeah. It's one of those days where I'm saying things like that. It's been a long day already. Is anyone else having that day too? Good day, but crazy. Yeah. That issue where people think that they're like Miss Spiritual USA or Mr. Spiritual USA and they walk around with, I'm the most spiritual human ever and broom skirts and I don't know, turbans. That bothers me because you have to do the work. You have to still take action, right? You still have to do the work. So that's where that came from. You can use that as a hashtag if you want to. So using your intuition and valuing it, very, very important for being able to remember your dreams because your intuition will say, this is something that's important to this person. This information is valued. If I keep bringing it, even when this person's in the altered state of sleep, when you're there, then it will continue to trigger that. Okay. Another thing that you want to make sure you're kind of saying, and this is what I do this specifically to my angels, specifically to Archangel Michael. Now you can choose a different angel. This isn't like exactly Michael's bag. It doesn't have to be him. But what I want you to do is to really notice as you're falling asleep, what Archangel energy do you feel present? Now you might get an intuitive hit of a color or a symbol, or you might hear a word or a name. You might just be like, this angel, or I have all these feelings of this. Then you can look up which archangel that is, or you can ask me. I'm happy to tell you. For me, as I'm falling asleep, it's always Archangel Michael hanging around in my room, okay? Archangel Michael is around me all the time anyways, but he's especially there. And interestingly enough, like Raziel is like my BFF. We're always together, right? We're like walking arm in arm all day. He pieces out and Michael comes in. So I focus on that. And so I specifically say to Michael, could you please help me receive beautiful intuition as I'm asleep, but please don't interrupt my sleep unless it's an emergency that I can do something about. All right. Just saying that, you guys, makes it so much easier for me to release and relax into that state of sleep, and allows the intuition to come in without me feeling that panicky feeling like I have to remember this. Oh my gosh, right? So doing something like that, also very, very helpful. Okay. Notice which archangel is around you as you're falling asleep. What symbols do you get? What feelings do you get? It's probably a little bit different than when you're awake, okay? Because certain angels are going to come in and they're going to be more attracted into the other state of consciousness that you go into, which is sleep. That's why sometimes when you meditate, you're like, oh, that angel's always here when I'm meditating, but I don't notice them in my awake life as much. Well, they come in more in that altered state for you, okay? Kind of making sense. I'm trying not to get too trippy with this, but it's kind of fun and trippy, so I'm putting my toes in the trippy water. We good? You hanging with me still? Okay. So the last tip that I have for you for remembering your dreams. Oh no, that's a lie. I have 2 more tips. The second to last tip that I have for you for remembering your dreams is this. Balance your chakras. Now, I know that probably sounds like some cheesy t-shirt or something that spiritual people should wear. I kind of want that t-shirt, but this is really, really important because your third eye being in a balanced state to be able to dream and remember it is key. It's clutch. You can do all the other things right, but if your third eye is way too open or way too closed, it's not going to go well for you. Your third eye being way too open is going to make it so you keep dreaming and waking up and feeling way too emotional as you're experiencing dreams, okay? Your third eye being too closed, you're not going to remember your dreams. You're not going to remember anything. You'll be like, I don't actually dream. People say that to me. Everybody dreams. It's impossible not to dream. So making sure that's balanced is huge, and doing something where you balance all your chakras is important because it's really hard to bring balance to one chakra without bringing it to all of them. We all have that chakra that is like the thorn in your side chakra that you're always working on. Mine's my throat, right? So it's always issues in the throat chakra. So we all sometimes have to bring a little extra balance to that. But typically empaths, their third eyes are not their problem chakra, okay? You might have it closed. You might have it too open based on what you're doing. But you typically don't have that issue. It's usually our throat chakras, a lot of times our heart chakras, right? And then the lower chakras like the root, first, second, third, all navel, all those chakras tend to be they tend to be our issues. The upper ones, not so much, okay? But whatever that is, whatever's going on for you, you want to just try to bring balance to that. So I have a chakra meditation that we did a few months ago in the group. I can repost it for anyone if you need it. Mary says her throat chakra always needs attention. Yeah, me too, girl. It's just forever. We'll be 512 hanging out in a nursing home together, working on our throat chakras. It's just going to be life. Has a lot to do with your purpose. If your throat chakra is your issue, then speaking your truth is your purpose or a big part of your purpose. So makes sense for me. Totally makes sense for you, Mary, my friend. So looking at that and looking at bringing that balance. So I can repost that meditation, but anything that you can do, a meditation or getting energy work to keep that stuff balanced, very, very helpful. If your chakras are all out of whack, you're going to have either super wackadoodle dreams that you can't even figure out, or you're not going to remember them. All right. And you're going to keep waking up in a very off state. Think of sleep as a form of meditation. That's what it is. And so if your energy is all wonky, being able to sleep and have that be restorative to not just your body, but to your mind and your soul as well, then you really need to have your energy going in a lovely place. Something like Reiki or IET would be the thing I would say to do for that. Jen says her root chakra. Yeah. A lot of empaths, we like those lower chakras to be our issues. Totally. My second chakra tends to follow behind my throat chakra. They kind of offset each other all the time. So I feel you. Those lower chakras are rough. People who are empathic and intuitive, we like to spend our time with our energy up here, right? Like, woo, we don't tend to go down and be grounded and go into those lower chakras. So sometimes they're harder to heal. But doing what you can to balance those, huge. Okay, now my last tip, and this is actually the last tip, all right? The last tip is to have a journal next to your bed and to have a routine when you're going to sleep and to have a routine when you're waking up, okay? So before you go to bed, this is just good for sleep anyways. You want to have a routine that you do every night. I don't care if your routine is that you let the dog out, come upstairs, brush your teeth, you know, do 2 stretches and then get into bed. I don't care what your routine is, but you want to be doing that so that your energy has a chance to shift into that state of consciousness. If you're just like walking around all alert, or like me and watching too many Netflix shows late at night, and then you're just like, okay, let's just go right into this other state of consciousness, that's not going to go well for you. That's not the best way to do that. It's going to be hard for you to hold on to dreams or even have those beautiful, powerful ones that we all want all the time, right? So what you want to do instead is have some kind of routine that you're doing, all right? So I have a very strategic routine. I say things as I'm doing it. It takes me less than 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be something that's long. It just has to be something that you do every night and you repeat, so that as it's happening, your whole energy field goes, okay, we're preparing to go into sleep, which is this other state of consciousness. So let's prepare ourselves, okay? Doing a few stretches before you get into bed is really good for falling asleep. If you want a specific one, if you put your feet up against the wall and have them like your feet up and you're laying down and your feet are up here, gold. Do that before you go to bed, all right? If you have trouble transitioning like this girl, beautiful thing to do, okay? Have the journal right next to your bed. And when you wake up, your memory of your dream will start to flee from your head. And the worst thing you can do is to move. My husband makes fun of me sometimes. I'm like laying in the position, I'm reaching for my pen, I'm like trying not to move too much to take notes in my journal, and I'm like trying to bring my journal over, because I know as soon as I move from the position I was sleeping in when I had the dream's gonna fly out of my head really fast, okay? So staying in the position, having the journal nearby, bringing it to you and writing down, very important. Also, have you ever had a situation where you lie in bed in the morning and you know you had a dream and you're like, oh, I can't remember much of it, and you roll into a different position and suddenly it floods back to you? That's because that's the position you were in when you were dreaming. So roll around a little. Try out some different positions that you know you sleep in. See if anything comes like flying back at you in that instance, okay? Write it down and then tell somebody it, okay? Because speaking it out loud, you'll hear yourself as you're saying your dream. You're like, oh, I didn't even process that, and I'm telling it to someone. It's just coming out of my mouth with all these extra details I didn't realize were there. You're not making it up. You're not a crazy pants. That's just how your memory works. When you're speaking it to someone, more things will come out and back. So journal about it and then tell it to someone and get their what they think of it. Like, oh, I pick up this from your dream. Oh, did you think of this? Oh, I think of this in your waking life with that dream. And look at it that way, because we use this weird tunnel vision when we look at our own intuitive stuff, right? Like someone else will tell you their dream and you're like, oh, I totally see all levels of that. And then you'll have your own dream and you're like, I don't get it at all. Normal and okay. So telling someone else, great. Have a friend, grab a buddy in here that's your dream buddy, and talk about your dreams to each other. Kind of help each other sift through them. Very, very helpful. All right. You have an opportunity that while you're sleeping and your body's restoring and your mind's restoring, to also help your soul get what it wants. So do that by setting beautiful intentions, remembering your dreams, and grabbing as much information from them as you can. All right. Peace out. Sweet dreams. If you watch this video later, I don't know, it started before I was ready and I was like doing this and primping and if you're watching live and you missed it, go back and watch it and make fun of me. It's fine. Sometimes shit like that happens. I also said angel cards coming out of your woo-ha, so clearly I need to go eat lunch. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Keep posting about your dreams. If I haven't got to them yet, I will, I promise. Bye.